What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect. Today we are going to take a look at the Anbernic RG505. Comes in a nice little box with little handsets on here and little controllers and things. Kind of cool. Looks like they're putting on devices that they've made themselves, so that's pretty neat. Now, this is rocking a T618, so we're going to see how it holds up against other devices with the same chipset. This does have the ability to rock the custom operating system GammaOS, and we are going to take a look at that today as well. Well, let's go find out and see how she holds up. Let's take a look. Here you see me just trying to power on the device, and that is not the power button. That's actually the function button. The power button's on the bottom, but like any other device like this, we do need to take a look at the I.O. real quick. So we will start at the top. We do have inline shoulder buttons. We do have a USB-C hole and a headphone hole. On the back here, it's a pretty boring top. On the back here, we just have the grippies for the counter, and that's about it. If we go to the side over here, we do have our function buttons. One of these is going to open up Anbernic's front-end system for gaming. And over here, we do have our volume buttons. On the bottom, we do have our power button. It's not on the side, it's on the bottom. Interesting place to put a power button. And then we do have a micro SD hole. And then we also have some speaker holes with little covers on them. And if you remember late 90s hip hop, we got some grills. On the front here, we do have our start and select buttons. A D-pad that, okay. Got an interesting membrane in it. We do have our axis buttons. And then we do have our joysticks. And they're clicky. And for what this device should be capable of doing, I'm not exactly sure why this joystick and this D-pad are in the wrong spot. This should be an eccentric device for a joystick if you're going to play higher end systems, which is what this device is geared around. So let's try that power button out. While this is booting up, let's go over the specs real quick. This does have a 4.95 OLED touchscreen. This is actually the screen out of the PS Vita. It's a 960 by 544, and on PSP at 2x resolution, this is pixel to pixel. It does have a Unisoc T618 64-bit octa-core processor, running a Mali 52 GPU at 850 hertz. It has 4 gigabytes of LPDDR4X RAM, not to be confused with any other kind of DDR4 RAM. This one is the X is going to give it to you. 128 gigabytes of onboard eMMC storage. Does hold up to a 512 gigabyte card. It does have Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5, and it does have Bluetooth 5.0. These are Hall effect joysticks, and it does rock a 5,000 milliamp battery behind this back cover over here. So now that we're in here, this is going to be like any other Android device. We have to do a little setup here, which is, the worst part about Android devices. These always take a little while, but you get a lot more emulation options. And depending on who you ask, maybe a cleaner interface. Some like it, some don't. I'm kind of used to both this and Linux, so it's kind of a crapshoot for me. I did cut the video, but that did take about 5 minutes to run through the boot up, so just so you're aware. Now, this should have the software update. So I initially skipped this back at the end of 2022 when this came out. I did have a test device. I never actually opened it, and I skipped it altogether because it didn't have the Play Store, and I didn't feel like most people would be able to use this. I tried to showcase things that would be, somewhat consumer-friendly, and I just didn't feel like that was very consumer-friendly, but it does look like it did get that software update. We are going to check to see if there is any other updates on here, and then we're immediately just going to put GammaOS on here. I don't see any reason to test it with the stock software just because we've done so many 618s, and so we already kind of know what it does, but I just put Gamma on my 405V a couple days ago, and my goodness, did it make a difference. And so I would like to do the same thing on here. So let's see what we can find out about this bad boy. It's not going to matter. This last update check was successful back on January 1st, 1970. I don't know if you can see that. Last successful update check was in 1970. And this last security update was in July of 2022. So that's we're doing really good here. Oh, I need to get into some Wi-Fi. That makes sense. Now, I did opt to get this without a memory card. I always forget that if they don't send it with a memory card or not. But so I did get this without a memory card. So we're going to steal one here from another device. Let's see what we got going on. Still up to date. But now our new successful check is today. So we got that going on for us. The time isn't right, I don't think. No, it's off by 5 hours, but that's okay. It's probably on some other country's time. Not a big deal. So what we need to do is we are going to put this into debug mode, and then I'm going to install GammaOS on it real quick for you. And then we'll start playing with it and kind of see what this thing is capable of. I'd really like to just test out these joysticks. This D-pad already doesn't feel the greatest just in the menus. You want to become a developer someday, you just got to keep clicking on, oh, look, I'm now a developer. You just got to keep clicking on the build number. It'll open up the developer options on any Android device for you in case you're ever in the need to know. I need to open up the ability to use my USB, wherever that thing is. USB debugging. There we go. Yep. Cool. All right. I'm going to throw Gamma on here real quick, and then we will play with it. And that just prevents me from having to put Daijishu on separately because it's built into the GammaOS. So that'll be kind of nice. Before I do that, though, you want to see what the stock launcher looks like from Anbernic. This is stock launcher looks like. I don't think you can control it with this. No, you have to use your arrow buttons. Kind of unfortunate. I do like using the shoulders. These inlines would be great for at least getting through the menus here. We'll see how they do in a game. But that is your stock launcher experience. It should find any games within these ROM files as far as the typesets go, and then it will add them to it once you add a memory card. I don't have one in here. That's what it is. And you hit it again, it should go back to your desktop. Cool. We'll take a look and see what's going on. Now with GammaOS on here, one thing you're going to notice is it looks almost identical to all my other devices because I like putting Daijishu on everything for a front end. And that is actually the built-in front end for GammaOS. So unlike other options you would have, you don't really have an option here. You're going to run Daijishu, which is pretty cool. If you followed any of my stuff and done Daijishu before, you're going to know how to set it up. If not, I am working on a setup guide that I haven't got out yet, but that's nor here nor there. So the things you're going to notice in here is we're going to be able to play games faster than the stock OS, as well as get the frame rates to stop bouncing around quite as much. They're still going to be fluctuate like they always would, but they're not going to fluctuate nearly as much. And then the biggest things is being able to eliminate the filters and the over sharpening that these devices have. One of the biggest gripes of this device since it came out has been the fact that it over sharpens. And so this will help eliminate some of that. And full disclosure, I don't have Wi-Fi working on this again yet after my update. There's a small handful of us who have different memory inside the device that throws off the Wi-Fi. 9 times out of 10, all you have to do is uninstall GammaOS and reinstall it using their bricking tool. Fixes the problem. Everybody I've talked to who's done that fixed the problem. It's not fixing my problem. So I've been in touch with Gamma. We're trying to figure out what's going on. And once I have an update on how to fix this problem, I will post it to my community tab. And before we get into the gameplay footage, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I love putting out content for you. I've been a little under the weather the last week, so I've been a little slow on content here for this last week, but we're kind of getting back in the roll of things. So once I start to feel a little bit better here, we'll get normal videos out again. So please do us both a favor and subscribe. I got a whole bunch of projects I'm working on right now. We're going to start right around PS1. As far as the lowest end system, we'll do some Dreamcast and stuff like that in there. We'll also throw in some PS2 and the shunned Switch. I'll put a couple of really quick shots in there and we'll give it a shot. Let's take a look. Well, after taking some time to play with it a little bit, I need to clean my screen because it's dirty. After taking some time to play with it for a little bit, there's some things I do and don't like about the device. I'm not ready to give up on it yet. I do need to fix the Wi-Fi issue on Gamma. So again, just check back and I will have something on there for you. The screen sharpening definitely is more mellowed out. I believe the temperatures are more correct now as well. I do really like this PS Vita OLED screen. There are different OLEDs out there. There's good OLEDs and bad OLEDs and really good LCD screens that look better than OLED. This one's kind of in the middle. I wouldn't say that there aren't LCD screens that are better than this, but this is a really good OLED. It's got decent viewing angles, and of course, because it held up on the Vita. And that's the other thing that's cool about this is you are able to play some Vita games. Now, the problem with not getting online, if you've never used Vita 3K before, it actually tells you what games do and don't work based off of the list that they have. And so they have different color markers next to the games. Well, all mine are gray because if you're not online, it doesn't tell you if that game's playable or not. It is something I'm missing out on doing this, so it's kind of hard to pick which games to play. The other problem with Vita 3K on any of these handhelds, when you install the game, it actually installs on your internal memory. So if you only have 128 gigs, it doesn't take long to fill it up. And I know because that's what happened to my Retroid Pocket 4 Pro. It's just full of Vita games. There's no room for anything else on there because I put, I don't know, like 20 or 30 Vita games out of my library on there. And every single game is now installed on that device. So I need to go through and delete some so I can put other stuff on there. So really do like the screen. And like I said, you can play some Vita. It's pretty light on what you can get, but I think that with a little tweaking, I could figure it out. And once I get this online and know which games are and aren't supposed to work, I can easily get it figured out. I almost, in the 10 minutes that I played it, almost got Call of Duty Black Ops to show me full picture. So I don't think that I'm that far off. I think we can get it to work. The stock OS is okay. When Gamma came out, it was really important to have something else because the stock OS was absolutely garbage. They've updated it a lot. One of the biggest problems with stock OS was these Hall sticks weren't registering correctly. So it wasn't just cardinal snapping. They were just kind of rifling off in any direction they wanted to. These feel, as far as Anbernic Hall effect sticks go, these feel pretty good. I wouldn't put them at the level of like a Ghillie Kit stick, but they are pretty good for an Anbernic Hall effect stick. I don't think that you would notice much of a difference by upgrading them to a new Hall effect stick. Now, that would have been different on the original OS. You would have seen a big difference just because those sticks balance themselves out a little bit better, where these rely a lot more on software. But now that with the software updates, you're not going to see that so much. This directly competes with the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, and I'll be honest with you, plays pretty much the same game library as the 3 Plus. Now, again, we're going to get some more luck with things like PSP. And what I found, so they advertise PSP at twice the resolution, pixel by pixel, which is awesome. I would say about 70% of the PSP library plays at 3 or 4x. And then you're going to need a couple of those games like God of War where it's really going to kind of struggle a little bit. That's just what that game does. I don't know. It's just, I don't know if it was compiled terrible. I don't know. There's just a lot going on. But even some other games that have a lot going on don't seem to be compiled as terribly as that is. Whatever the reason being, God of War is going to be your exception, and games very similar to that one where you're going to lose a little bit of that clarity. But most games you'll be able to go 3 or 4x, and that's pretty freaking fantastic. This thing does really good with Dreamcast, which is really cool too. I like the idea of being able to play some Nintendo games on a handheld like this. I know everybody's focus right now is on PS2, but it is good to get a little bit of that out of there. And then PS2, 1.25 times is kind of what you get as far as your level performance. And then it depends on the game. I've got a couple games that'll play like 2.5x. I don't have anything that I noticed that would play 3, but I also haven't played my entire library yet. So it's possible we might hit some 3x games in there. A lot of 1x games. And then there's a lot of them that'll play at 0.75, which is really kind of a bummer. But the screen's not huge. You know, it's big enough. You can definitely tell the difference there. You would rather have it be at least 1x. I would say it's about 40 to 50% of the PS2 library. When you're running Gamma, you can confidently play above 1x on here. And lastly, one thing we didn't go over, and I didn't do in the demo here, but I have done since I had the device, is game streaming. This is actually a good size screen for Game Pass and things like that. You don't want to go much smaller than this because you start to lose the ability to read anything that's written on the screen. So this does give you that ability to be able to read the things on the screen. Works out really well that way. And then one other thing is a few false diagonals in the D-pad, easily be fixed with a piece of tape. These are pretty springy but stiffish. You could probably get away with modifying the membranes. I don't know if you'd want to put like a Game Boy Color membrane in here maybe. Let me know down in the comment section. Also, speaking of that, I want to modify this device, but I know exactly what I want it to look like and what I want to do with it. But so far, the companies that I typically go to do my modifications aren't making parts for this device. It just didn't sell as well as the 405 because the 405 is smaller, more pocketable. Makes sense, right? The 505 didn't sell as many units, so they don't have as much of demand. A couple of them are actually looking at possibly just making some for me to do a video, but I don't think that's fun for you, especially if you own one of these and and you want to do some of that stuff. So if you know where to get some parts for this, I know they make shoulders for it. They make a stack shoulder button and stuff like that for it. If you know where to get parts for it or have any ideas of things you want to see me do on this device, once I get some parts for it, let me know down in the comment section because 100% looking for ideas. But anyways, that's all I got for today. Remember to comment, rate, subscribe, share this video with your friends because sharing helps grow the channel. If you ever just want to chat, you can find me over on the Retro City Discord. I've got a little spot over there. I also have one over on the Retro Handhelds one, but I'm not on there nearly as often. I pretty much spend all day on the Retro City one while I'm editing and stuff like that. So if I'm not shooting video, good possibility you can just have a one-on-one conversation with me if you want to. I'll leave a link down on my thingamabob for the Retro City Discord as well. That's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.